Hello and welcome to Ask the School OT. Today's message is for all my school-based OTs out there. Now, if you're like me, probably over the years, you have been maintaining all your documentation in these large 3-ring binders, and as your caseload gets huge over the course of the year with all the notes and the work samples, they start to weigh about 100 pounds. And again, if you're like me too, you're getting a little older, and carrying around all those binders is going to be a bit more of a pain in the back and the neck, literally. And if you're going to more than one school, sometimes you're carrying more than one of those 3-ring binders around with you. So this year, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go completely to a digital documentation system. So this quick screencast today is to show you what I am doing using Google Drive with Google Docs to be able to just carry my laptop then from school to school. I'll have access to all my notes, and I'm going to show you how I set that up. So you'll see right here, I'm on just my main Google page, and I'll go up here to these Google Apps, and I want to go to Drive. Now I'm going to sign in with my Ask the School OT account because that's where I have kind of my model account to show you. I don't want to show you my actual students. Let me sign in here. Okay, you'll see here we are in Google Drive. See if I can expand this just a little bit more, like that. If you're unfamiliar with Google Drive, hopefully this will give you just a little bit of background, and then you can get in there and explore and do some things that are really productive and interesting for your practice, and hopefully then it'll help, with speeding up your paperwork time, and I'll give you a couple examples of that as we go along. So you can see here I've already created 2 folders. I've created one folder for my 17-18 caseload and one folder that says equipment inventory. These are very similar to what I have like on my real Google Drive account through my school system. So to make a folder, you just right click and you'll see you'll get a prompt for a new folder. And then you just title it. What if we were all ready to do next school year? And we would create it. And there we go. So let's go into the one that I already made. Double click. And in here's where you would have your schools listed. So currently I'm at 4 schools, so I have 4 different files. It'd be like School 1, which is my elementary school. School 2 is more of a specialized school for kids with more severe developmental disabilities, more medically fragile kids. And then my last 2 schools are 2 middle schools. So I have one folder under my heading of my 17-18 caseload, one folder for each, or file for each school. So let's go into school number 1. Oh, and again too, if you wanted to add, it's the same process. Right click, add another folder. Okay, let's go into school number 1. Now here again, it's like layers of organization that I've made for myself. You may have some other way that'll work for you, but for me, at least this first year giving it a try, this is what I did. So I've organized my students at school number 1 into the type of service that I provide. So we have kids with 504s, consultation, direct service, intervention, and support to school personnel, and then one final folder for work samples. So if I have students that are working with, say, there's a great extension for Chrome that I'm also going to do a screencast about called Read and Write for Google. It helps students with their written expression. If I'm working with them and they're producing a work sample on a Google Doc, then I can just put it in this file too and have that work sample. So let's go in and I'll show you then what my documentation forms would look like. So this will be just an example. So obviously, you will probably have more than one direct service student. So you would again, you could say make a new Google Doc, a blank document, and we would, import our template. I'll show you my template. Back to this one. So this is my made-up student, John Smith, for the 1718 school year, not the 1728 school year. So John Smith, here's the school year, and then here's his IEP, MFE dates, and when is the MFE due. So because he's going to be due this school year, this is nice. I can highlight this. I can add it to my calendar. It helps keep me a little bit more informed than these upcoming dates, and I'm not then surprised like, oh my gosh, we have, John's 3-year reeval coming up. Holy cow. I've got the service time that I see him here, and then that's me, Elizabeth Stevens. So that's one. All I did was make a table. Okay, for that, to do that, you just make a table, insert a table, and you can see mine would have 1, 2, 3 columns, and then 2 rows. So it's a 3 by 2. So that's how I got this, and then you can adjust. You can see you can adjust the size of the columns as you want. Okay, so just take some playing around if you've never done this before. And then my second table here, again, I just inserted a table. Insert table, same way, and I needed 4 columns, and then I just wanted, several rows, and you can go back and add rows the more service you provide. I have the date of the service, the time of the service, was it group, was it individualized, and then this is my HPC running total, which is our like Medicaid billing, so I can keep a running total as well. What I would do here, what I have done, is I go into our software program that has their IEPs, and I cut and paste their objectives that I support, and I put them on here, and then my data would go in below. So if I saw John on 8/18/17 from 9 o'clock to 9:30 a.m., and I saw him individually, then I would probably, if the services met the definition of medical necessity, then I would have, 30 minutes for HPC. So HPC 30, okay? And then I would write my information in here, what we did, what my data was, and so on, all right? And then, again, so if I saw him the following week on 25/17, again, from 9 o'clock to 9:30 a.m. I saw him individually. Now my HPC total would be at 60. So it gives me an idea. I want to make sure that I'm not billing for more than what's indicated in the IEP, because that is fraud. So it's nice to keep a running total and keep on top of this stuff. So you want to make sure that you're meeting, obviously, the demands of the IEP as far as service provision, and that you're also not going over your minutes for your medically necessary services. Okay? So let's close out John. Actually, let me show you one more thing. Let's say I just got a new student that moved into the district and he is direct service. I would just Control A, which highlights this whole format. Control C, that's going to copy it. I have that new blank document opened up. I'm going to Control V, or paste it, into here. And now all I have to do is, let's see, Judy, what's a good name? Sweetie, Judy, Sweetie. Okay, and then I can adjust all this, and now I've got Sweetie, Judy, 1718. I import my goals. Let me take this, whoops. I obviously take this out, but you would have a blank, document that you've saved, and that way you can just copy that. So that's probably a good idea. Just keep a blank document, and then you can copy it and make new ones for your students. All right, I'm going to close out of those and go back and just show you. So if I have a student that's consultation, it's basically the same documentation form, only I just don't have as many columns. So again, this is Jane Smith, the IEP, MFE dates. Oh, look at that. She's highlighted. She's due this year too, but she's in March, so I better keep her on my radar. Her current IEP said that she's a consult of 60 minutes per quarter, and then in section 7, which is the services page, in the IEP, the description was occupational consultation, whoops, it should say occupational therapy, consultation with instructional staff regarding implementation and modifications to sensory diet. So if ever I provide my services, whenever I provide my services, the date and the time would go here, and then what the consultation looked like, what I discussed with the teacher. All right. But I am hopeful, go all the way back to the beginning. So I am hopeful, I'm going to give it a try this year. I haven't done it before, but I am happy to get rid of the heavy binders. And one thing that I think in particular that this will help is, let's go back to John Smith. One final thing, so if I've got all my data here for my several weeks and it's time to do progress reports, now last year I had handwritten all my notes, and I'd have to then, recopy my data from my handwritten notes into the progress reports, which are an online format. Now I think it'll save me time because all I need to do is copy my data and paste it into the progress reports at that time of year. And don't we all want to be able to do our paperwork a little bit faster so we can have a better work-life balance? Well, that's it for using Google Drive to help enhance your documentation. I hope this is helpful to you, and I appreciate your time, and stay tuned for more tips and treasures.